Tales of Riiga, Chapter 1, Page 1. 1,000 years ago, a giant black storm called the Darkness swept across all the lands. It covered entire kingdoms as hundreds of monsters attacked cities and towns. Some places managed to keep the monsters at bay, but the heart of the storm destroyed everything in its path. The War of the 10 Kings was brought to a sudden end, and humans were all but defeated. Then the darkness ended, and the Red Temple rose from the ashes under the names of the child god. The temple became a beacon of hope and a symbol of strength and unity. Cities were rebuilt, crops were replanted, civilization slowly returned, and the people of Benevis soon flourished. But ever since, the land suffers from an echo of the darkness every few generations. These are smaller versions of the darkness, called black storms, and bring with them groups of monsters. They never become as large as the first storm, but are still very dangerous. Whenever a black storm brews, everyone comes together to fight. Our best defense are the Cinevos. They are beautiful, silent birds, which can sense when a black storm is a few days from appearing. When it does, it lets out a mournful cry. So the nobles of each big city keep one in what's called a crying tower, with beacons to spread the message across the countryside. Without the Cinevos, black storms would take us by surprise each time. Is another black storm coming? Evan interrupts the story. His mum's eyes shimmer in the candlelight. No, she says, not for a long time. The last storm was only 7 years ago, around when you were born. We're still rebuilding. Evan's gaze drifts to the mantelpiece, where a soldier's sword with no blade and a serpentine engraving rests on display. He shivers as cold night air seeps in through every crack and crevice of the run-down cottage. It mingles with the smell of smoke and lavender. The longer he stares at the sword, the more he wants to tell her that his tummy hurts, and the more he wants to ask when Dad is coming back. But he knows that she will go quiet and stare out the window all night from her chair. So he pushes the feelings deep down until he can't see them anymore. That's enough for tonight, she says. She smiles at him and brushes the hair from his face. Her fingers are warm. Evan opens his mouth but doesn't say anything. He wants more stories, but he also knows she never changes her mind. The candle on the bedside table pops, sputtering briefly before burning bright once more. One day, I'm gonna. A piercing sound cuts through the air. His mum sits up suddenly and turns to the door. The bell must have come loose in the wind, she says softly. But as she stands, it rings again. The silence that follows buzzes in Evan's ears. Mum? A customer, she wonders, at this time of night. Taking hold of her cane, she limps slowly to the window and peers out into the night. She sighs and opens the door. Evan can see outside from his bed. There is a knight in armor standing by their front gate, tying the bell back to its post. Behind him is a dark steed with a glowing lantern hanging from its saddle. The knight looks up. "Are you Vivian?"